everyone. Today I thought that I would record one of those videos that tells you 5 things you don't know about me already. At the moment I can only think of 4. So I'm going to record those 4, and then when I think of something brilliant or amusing, then I will record the 5th one. But don't hold your breath. The first thing is that once a month, on the 1st of the month, these 2 gentlefolk living in this house choose violence. We resort to violence, scheming, and all sorts of nefarious ways of getting each other first before the other one can do it. And that is pinch punch first of the month. And I know that sounds childish, because it is, but my darling boy, if I stay up beyond midnight on the last day of the month, I know he will be clock watching. And because he's a night owl, he's far more alert than I am, because I've been up very early. So I'm a bit dozy, or dozier, at that time of night. And honestly, as soon as the clock strikes midnight, well, ours doesn't strike, but nevertheless, as soon as it's gone on the midnight hour, he will pinch punch me first of the month, no returns. And that does get my pip. So I've had to resort to other means to get him. So I don't stay up on the last of the month, because I know he'll get me. The other thing is that I have to try and get him first. Well, last month, my granddaughter Lily Jack and Lily were staying with us. And so I employed her as my surrogate. She was very good. I said, would you like to get Grandad on pinch punch first of the month? And she said, yes. And I said, so you have to say pinch punch first of the month, no returns. So all the way up the stairs, to remember it, she is repeating pinch punch first of the month. And I thought he would hear her, but he didn't. So she marched in there and she said, Grandad. And then she pinched and punched him very lightly. And that was that month done. So that was a relief. She was my secret weapon that month. The previous month, he had come down into the kitchen at 7 a.m, which is something he never does. And he looked like the worst ham actor in the world. When he walked into the kitchen and he looked around and like that. And I knew he was up to something. And then I twigged why. And he was going to pinch and punch me. So I jumped up, and because my balance isn't very good, I fell against the kitchen counter. And I did myself a mischief. But he did get me, but I got him at the same time, so that one was a draw. This month, I was watching him. I had been awake since 3:30 in the morning because of his snoring, and I lay in the bed and I waited. I was listening to my book, and I waited and waited, and he got up at 5:30 to go to the bathroom, and I got him then. So he says I was sneaky. I was just planning ahead. Pinch punch comes from a time in old England when you would pinch some salt and throw it over a witch to make her powers less powerful. And the punch, well, that was, to give her a punch. Pinch punch comes from a time in old England when you would pinch some salt and throw it over a witch to make her powers less powerful. And the punch, well, that was, to give her a punch. So, yes, that's one thing. I know it's childish. I know. But we do resort to violence once a month too. In my 30s, and still to this day, I am a rock chick. I really do like heavy metal music. Now, I know I don't have heavy metal music on the end of my video, I have classical music, and I do love classical music too, but really I am a heavy metal girl. I really, really do enjoy it. My favourite bands are Def Leppard, and the two albums that I really love, every track on both of them, are Hysteria and Pyromania. They are fabulous to work out to. They get your heart pumping. I probably know all the words. And they were in the 1990s. And at the Brit Awards, which I attended in 1996 when Michael Jackson was there, I sat on the same table as them, and they were very nice people. So I like Def Leppard, I like Led Zeppelin. I probably know all the words to Led Zeppelin 2 and 4 because they're my favourite albums. I also love Black Sabbath. I'm going to sound like I should be wearing dark makeup and all the rest of it, but you know, I did love it. So, yes, that's something I suspect you didn't expect of me. Number 3, let me have a look. When you're reading a book, or in my case, when you're listening to a book, do you find yourself doing the same facial expressions that are being described in the book? Like, he looked at her quizzically. Well, I do. Even if I can't help it, even if I'm in the car and I'm driving along and somebody says, she sneered at him, I will find myself doing if somebody was driving next to me, they'd think, what is that woman doing? You know, why is she making those faces when there's nobody else in the car? I know it's odd. I know it's quirky. Some of the expressions that I have to find myself pulling are just ridiculous. But I do it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not. It really is very silly, but I can't help it. I do it. And I know I look ridiculous too. Because at times I've looked in the mirror while I'm doing it and I thought, good Lord. But there you go. 4. When I was 11 or 12, I went to boarding school. Well, I went to boarding school at 11. And we had 2 head teachers, Miss Boycott and Miss Stromwell. They were both very old, and they both wore black gowns all the time, well, in public. And I have no idea why I did this. I probably just had a weird sense of humour and thought it would be, I thought they would enjoy it. But on Miss Boycott's birthday, everybody would buy her a card, and then they would all those cards would be sat on the top of the bookshelves in the entrance hall, because there weren't that many pupils at this boarding school. It was in Sussex, in Rustington. So I bought her one of those long funny cards. Now you can see where I'm going with this, can't you? And I can see it to this day. It was a long funny card, about that long, about 8 inches, 9 inches long. And it said on the front, "May the bluebird of happiness fly over you." Well, so far so good. But when you opened it, it said, "And crap all over your birthday cake." Now, at the time, my 12-year-old brain thought that was hilarious, but with the benefit of hindsight and more than 50 years to reflect on it, it was highly inappropriate to send to such an elderly lady in charge of the whole school. And needless to say, my card was not put up, and I don't blame her really. I think that is probably one of the reasons why I was often pulled out of the dormitory at night. I was always the first person to be suspected of talking after lights out, even if I wasn't, even if I were asleep. I don't think that card helped my cause at all. 5. About 2 years ago, well, just as the building work on this house had finished, or was being finished, I decided that I would paint my 2-seater recliner sofa a different colour. I had researched this, and I had gone to some companies to find out how much it would cost, and it was exorbitant. Well, maybe not really, because it does take a long time to do. It was going to cost £1,500 to paint. Well, you could buy a new one for that, so I wasn't going to do that. So I decided to find out how I could do it myself. I do a lot of that. If I can't afford something, then I think, I wonder if I can paint it or I can make it myself, and then I give it a go. So I went online and I found a website called furnitureclinic.co.uk, and I saw that they would match a colour swatch, if you had one, and match the paint to it. So I went to our local DIY store and I found several greens that I thought I would give a go, and I brought them home and I sort of attached them to the wall with masking tape, and then looked to see which I liked best. And I found the colour Lush Grass. I think it was Lush Grass. Anyway, I'll put it up on just below where you can see it. Then I sent them off the swatch, and they sent back the paint. Now, because it was a recliner, I thought that I probably needed to buy enough paint to do a 3-seater sofa. And I did, actually. I used it all. So I got the paint. I opened up the recliner so both seats were laying back. And then I spent the next 4 days rubbing it down with fine sandpaper to get the top coat off so that it would absorb some paint, new paint. Otherwise it would just peel off. You have to spend a lot of time on preparation to get a good job. So each time you have to rub it down, then you have to clean it off with alcohol, and in between times you are rubbing it down with a green scrubby pad soaked in acetone. So you do need to wear rubber gloves or say goodbye to your hands. So I did that, and it took me 4 days to do a proper job. After that, they give you all the stuff you need to spray it, but we just had the room decorated, and I didn't want that fine spray of green going over all the navy blue walls and things like that. So I thought I would use a little sponge roller, and that actually worked really well. I did need to do 3 or 4 coats because the taupe colour kept on coming through, which was irritating, and it spoiled the effect. So I did several coats, I think it was about 4, and then allowed it to dry. In between times I was drying it with my hairdryer to speed things up, because I'm not terribly patient with things like that. I just want to get on and do it. And then once it was all dry, it actually looked quite cheap. It looked cheap because it was shiny and it wasn't a good look. But they do send you 2 types of outer coat to spray on it. You can either have shiny, which it was already shiny and it looked cheap, or you could have matte, or you could even mix the shiny with the matte and have a satin finish, but I went for matte, and I'm really pleased I did, because once I had done it and it had dried, it looked fabulous. I can remember when I first mooted the idea to my darling boy, he said, "Oh, I don't know, do you know what you're doing?" Of course I didn't. But I had confidence that I would probably get it done. He said, "Well, you know, it might ruin it." Well, I really had detested that colour. So he said, "Well, I suppose we could always buy a new one if it doesn't work out." But I thought it would, and he wasn't sure about the green, but I was. And, you know, he does go with my opinion because, well, because I was an interior design. Well, I did have an interior design business for a number of years. So, you know, given the fact that people paid me for my interior design ideas, then he should listen, shouldn't he? So he did. So I did spend 6 days in total painting it. I am thrilled with the result. And I haven't yet to see a sofa the same colour on the high street. In fact, you can send any colour at all that you can find to send them, and they will match it. They will even supply you with paint for a fabric sofa, which I think is fabulous. I mean, how often do we change our decor and then the sofa looks terrible? You know, it just doesn't suit your room anymore, and it needs a bit of a zhuzh up. It even made me think that I might have a look online to see if I could see some sofa. It doesn't even have to be real leather. It just has to be a sofa or a chair or whatever that you just don't like the colour, but you like the shape. So give it a thought if you've got a sofa or a chair or whatever in your room and you think, "Oh, I wish I could recover that." You might not need to. You might just need to buy some paint. I haven't used their fabric paint, but on their website they do give you full instructions, which I did follow, and it turned out beautifully. Anyway, if you have been, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.